So, Jayce, I heard you died.
I did. I died. I left the channel for a bit. I think I grew a beard for a while, shaved the beard, and now I'm back. And all within the time I was gone. So it's been a minute for sure.
All right, so I had the idea of once a month, this will be something that we do from now on, where it's kind of like the podcast 2.0 in a way, where it's not a podcast, but it's just kind of whatever Zeth and Jayce decide to do. There will still be Zetharoni episodes. There will still be videos that I do on my own, but Jayce is back. Basically, you had a little bit of a hiatus with college and other things, work. So welcome back, buddy. It's not J and Z Productions without you.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
So I thought we could start it off nice and easy. 1 minute it might be us reacting to the Nintendo Direct, another might be us playing a video game together and just the funny bits edited together. But I thought, what better way than to talk about the Switch 2 that was just announced, and just like our reactions and our thoughts with that subject matter. It's kind of like how we met in a way. A lot of great friendship building moments through the Switch, Jayce.
Yeah, that Switch, even, I don't remember if you were here or if you had left before or after it came out, but fond memories of it. I remember camping out for it. It was one of the few times I got to do that before, the virus and everything stopped doing that. So I got to actually camp out for my Switch. I remember that. So we're looking forward to the new one, seeing what they bring.
I know. Hopefully, because I think I'm going to visit you during the time when it might come out, so we'll maybe be able to camp out together and buy one together. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so, what was your reaction to the Switch 2, I guess? Because it kind of came out. Like, it was the very anti-Nintendo announcement, in my opinion.
I'm with you. If you saw a lot of the online discourse around it, it was like basically everyone had revealed the thing at that point except for Nintendo. So I'll be honest, it was a tad underwhelming. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it definitely was one of those moments where it's like, I felt like a lot of other people, I guess, where it's like, oh, it's just another Switch. But as in terms of a Nintendo console, that's something brand new. Like, it's exciting still, but I think it would have had a lot more oomph behind it if there wasn't so many leaks, because by the time all the leaks came out, we already knew technically everything about this console, like its size, its shape, its different ways the controllers were going to be looking now or connecting, so I think it took a lot away from it.
I'm actually a tad concerned about it. I'm afraid they might have a bit of a Wii U situation again, I'll be completely honest, for the fact that it's not like the Switch. The Switch was revolutionary kind of when it came out. They didn't have a ton of home console portable things going on. And it had just this market for children, kind of like the Wii had, where it's almost like a family console. But I'm having a feeling that because it's so similar to the original Switch, it's backwards compatible and everything, I don't know if it's going to have that same selling power the Switch originally had.
See, I think you're wrong about that just to a certain degree, because, I felt that too, where it's like, it's not something completely different, so people aren't going to think it's something different than the Switch, you know what I mean? They're just going to think it's like the OLED Switch, for example. But, you have the PlayStation, who has got PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and people know there's a difference. So, I think that Nintendo labeling it as the Switch 2, yes, does it take away from maybe it being special as special as the Switch? A little bit, yeah. But, as in terms of, are people going to mistake it as a refurbished Switch? No. I think people are going to immediately know, okay, this is the next generation of the Nintendo Switch.
Right. I just have a feeling that it might be more of a Wii to Wii U than like a DS to 3DS. The 3DS was a significant jump in terms of like the gimmick was kind of cool. And they're like, in theory, they're both similar. Wii U backwards compatible, it adds cool stuff, but it depends how people take it. I own a Switch right now. I have an OLED Switch, and the games and stuff are going to be what sells it. But I think that the audience for the Switch 2 a lot of them are going to be families that, like the Wii U, they might not care enough. Like, they might be like, my kids already have a Switch. It plays most of the games that are going to be on it. And it's not like the PS4 or PS5, Xbox where it's a hardcore, we need the highest end hardware. I don't really get that same vibe from Nintendo Switch owners in general.
It's true. Like, I mean, most parents that are probably bought a Switch, maybe they'll wait 2 years or something like that. And that's most parents, though, that buy a console that's expensive for their kids. You and me that can go out and buy a console, that know the difference between it. I think, like you said, though, the thing that's really going to have to sell it, and we'll know by the Direct, yes, the features will kind of give away a little bit of like, okay, this is what separates the Switch 2 a little more from the regular Switch. Like maybe the Joy-Cons are, they have HD Rumble 2.0 or something like that. Like little things for us, but the thing that's going to really make it different for everybody else is the games, If they do the exact same thing that they did with the Switch, which was the greatest year for Nintendo I've ever seen in my life as in terms of their game lineup. They need to do that.
They need to, and I don't know if they will. And I think I have a theory as to why it won't do well, and it actually has to do with the Wii U's failure. Now, if you think about it, because nobody bought a Wii U, there was, and you and me both know this, the Wii U had some of the best games just in general. They were all good. Pikmin 3, Mario Kart 8, all that good stuff. Xenoblade X. Nobody actually played those games. They were fully made, developed, and released, and no one played them. Half of the Switch games that are super good they're able to be resold Wii U games because no one actually played them. They got to sell Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. They got to sell Breath of the Wild. They got to remake half of the Pikmin games. All of those are incredibly good and popular because nobody actually played them. They got to resell them, but they can't do that for the Switch 2. It just is what it is. So they're not going to have the current library of Switch games that the Switch had and all the Wii U games coming out that were good. I don't know if that was why it was so strong. I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the Switch having all those games they could go back on and re-release, how do you think that'll affect the Switch 2's release by not necessarily having that?
I don't think it's really going to affect that because I think Nintendo just needs to make sure, like, even having re-releasable games is not that big of a deal. They can go back to the GameCube and start re-releasing games, and people will still pay $60 for a repackaged edition of Smash Melee or Super Mario Sunshine. People will. People will complain about it, but people will. That's just the reality of Nintendo fans and video game companies and fans as a whole. But Nintendo needs to really solidify this Direct as being like, listen, guys, we know what sells a console, and it's games. The first year, you're going to have 5 games to look forward to, but like 3 at launch that are worth it. Because that's what you need. You need something where it's like the Switch. Like, remember how the Switch had that Japanese Direct kind of, where it was like at midnight or something like that for us? And during that Direct, you learned Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart, Breath of the Wild was going to be a launch title. You had ARMS and 1-2 Switch, and just a big, massive avalanche of games that were coming. Because I'm with you, the Wii U had great games, but the problem with the Wii U was that they took way too long to come out. You would have one year where like their main title the whole year was like Game & Wario, and you're like,
right,
all right. But with the Switch, it was different. They learned their lesson where it was like boom, 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 boom the first year. That's what the Switch 2 needs to do, where it's like their first year, they need to have like 5 games ready. They need to have Mario 3D ready, the new Mario Kart that was shown off, which is great, fantastic. They need to make sure they have a Zelda on the back burner. Maybe Metroid Prime 4 is a launch title. Super Smash Brothers on the back burner. Like, they need all these titles that they can say, like, okay, games are going to be coming and games are ready for this sucker.
I just have a feeling, though, that the problem is so many of the games on the Switch were so good. How are they going to compete I guess, with Smash Bros. Ultimate? How are they going to make a better Smash Bros. Game than that? You know, they're just going to want to play Ultimate or Melee at this point. But
You don't, in my opinion. You have to really change up the Smash Brothers formula at this point. You know, either that or port Smash Brothers Ultimate with just more characters. I mean, but you need to have like a Street Fighter like 6, I think that they're up to, where it's like it's a completely new take on the franchise almost. Like have everyone's moveset be mashed up or something like that. Have just a little small lineup of characters or something like that, and really focus on like you know, having like there be like 900 moves for each character or something like that. Just have it be a little different. But it's like the next 3D Mario.
Will that sell well? That's not the Nintendo
yes, it
way.
will,
They
because
want
it's
everyone
Smash
to
Brothers.
be able to play
It will sell well.
And you know, you know the Smash Bros. Community and Nintendo don't get along.
That's true, but
They
it's
hate
Smash.
each other.
It's Smash Brothers. The Wii U Smash Brothers was sold well. It just didn't sell as well as the 3DS version because there wasn't as many consoles for that. The Wii U that were sold as the 3DS. The Smash Brothers community will always buy Smash Brothers. That's just how they are. Same thing with Mario Kart. It's how do you do better than Mario Kart 8 Deluxe that had all like 96 courses, I think, at this point. You just make sure it's a bit different. You introduce a new flair. You have something. You have to be different. But you have to make sure those games are there at launch or the first year.
True.
Or in the second year, like Smash Brothers can be a second-year game. Zelda can be a second-year game or even a third-year game, since they could do like Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker release HD. Have them both be separate. Have the first Wind Walker be the first year. Have Twilight Princess be the second year. And that way you can work on, you know, the next big Zelda.
Yeah, and those are all going back to being just good Wii U games. But I mean, I know they were before that, they're remakes, but that's where they were. But I just don't know if, because the reason the Switch sold so well was because so many families bought it. Are the vast majority of the families gonna be like, hey, my kid needs the new Mario Kart? Are they all gonna say, hey, we already have a Switch, we already have Mario Kart 8? Is that not kind of like
it might take a
enough,
bit more
like-
time, but eventually people will catch on. You know, it's like the Switch. The Wii U, the way that it failed was a bit different than everything else because of the way they marketed it, the way that there wasn't any real games for a long time, and by the time games were starting to come for it, it was a bit too late. You know, you were on your like the second or the third year by the time like Mario Kart came out and Smash Brothers and stuff. So I think Nintendo learned their big lesson from the Wii U. We saw that with the Switch. They will not make the same mistake. They would be foolish to not keep the Nintendo Switch because it is the biggest selling game console of all time at this point, except for the DS. You know, it finally outsold the PlayStation 2. But it's a lot like PlayStation. If PlayStation came out with a brand new console and they didn't call it the PlayStation, they would be foolish. It's a lot like, you know, Nintendo or the Xbox brand. I think Nintendo's in a better position than Xbox is. You know, Xbox Series X and S, and then you have like the digital, you know, that's just confusing in and of itself, and we're big video game fans. I think Nintendo's in the position they exactly want to be in, not like with the Wii U.
I don't think the Switch 2 is going to do bad. I'm not expecting a smash hit like the Switch, though. It's not revolutionary enough. It's just going to be it'll do good, but it's not going to be the Switch again.
I'm thinking it's going to be very good. Especially now, Nintendo's got their biggest, like the best way of coming out with it, because right now there is competition, but there isn't competition at the same time, in my opinion. Xbox is slowly going down the drain as becoming a Sega. Their consoles are basically collecting dust for us. You know, we don't have Game Pass anymore. It's not really worth it, in our opinion, as much as it was. You know, and then PlayStation, they're just not coming out with enough great exclusives fast enough. They're kind of like the PlayStation 5 is a bit like the Wii U, where it's like when they come out with the game, it's great, but it's like they're not really. They're really taking their time.
I've been disappointed with the PS5 this system, but this, even though it sold incredibly well, that's a totally different topic, in that regard. But I get what you're saying.
And then their only competition is really PC, but they don't ever really directly compete with people nowadays. They're in their own little space.
That I disagree. By PC, I'm more referring to the rise of handhelds, like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, whatever it's called. That's kind of been encroaching on their space a bit in terms of handhelds. Like, I'd kind of want a Steam Deck. At least if they come out with another one, I'd probably want one. And then the other ones aren't doing as well, but it's still a massive. It's a growing market at the moment.
It is, and Nintendo started that market with the Switch, but
they did.
There just needs to be great games for the Switch 2. That's the argument in and of itself. If the Switch 2 will have great games and they come out, there you go. People will want to buy a Switch to play Mario 3D, 4, Mario Kart 9 or 10. People will buy them if there's games. That's all that really matters. If their Direct comes out and they're like, hey, 50 third-party games day one, 2 exclusives day one, and then, there's some weird cool thing that they do with their Joy-Cons or whatever, like the mouse, for example. They say, like, Mario Paint 2 or something. People will buy a Switch for Mario Paint 2.
I'll tell you what, those Joy-Con mice, you get the ultralight mice, whatever, they're cool and all. I think they're going to be encroaching on that space. I'm not even joking. I think they're going to, I've seen discourse about, hey, is this going to be the new gold standard of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con on its side? But I don't even know what that's about.
I'm very, very excited because the Switch blew away all expectations as in terms of like their game output and what it meant for video games. You know what I mean? Like before, remember how cool it was with the 3DS where it's like, oh man, this is 3D or whatever, or the PS Vita. It's like whenever there was kind of like a console-sized-ish game, but it was still pretty much like, there's like takeaways and stuff like that. And then the Switch comes out, it's like Breath of the Wild on your handheld. Boom. It blew everyone's minds at the time.
I know, that's why it was so cool and it sold so well. But I don't think the Switch 2 is going to necessarily blow my mind.
I don't know. I mean,
is all I'm saying.
Maybe if it's more powerful than people are saying, because it is pretty powerful for what they're saying. They're wanting it to be a PS4 Pro level. That's still, like, really good. Like, the base PS4 would have been great in itself, but, I mean...
Yeah, that's the problem. They now have competition, at the very least, that people are comparing it to. Like a Steam Deck, like the other ones.
But people will still buy it.
And it matters.
As long as you have great games and exclusives that are like, man, I gotta buy a Switch to play this game, it'll sell well. Guarantee it. Games sell the hardware. Right. It's like a PC. Why did you build a PC? To play PC exclusive games that you can't find on a console. Something like Lethal Company. That's not on a console yet. What other, there's other benefits to PC gaming, but you get what I mean. Like, there's games on PC that you can't play on a console. Same thing with PlayStation 5. Sure. Xbox is not in that category now because all their games are coming to PlayStation 5 and Nintendo, but you get what I mean. You buy the hardware to play the games. Games sell hardware.
I get that. And one thing I'm hoping for, and one thing specifically, is the Joy-Cons look a little bit more comfortable. Hopefully they don't have this stupid drift issues on this one. I am wondering about the screen, and that actually might make or break it besides the price. Having a Switch OLED, I like it. It's a slightly bigger screen, but I love seeing the colors on it. It's a beautiful screen that they picked. I'm really hoping they keep it. I want it to be bigger, which they have, but it's hard to go back after switching. It's not the biggest deal, but that would be really cool if they kept that,
Yeah, I could see that too. I'm guessing that the price is going to be somewhere around $500, maybe even $400. I understand that like the Nintendo consoles are usually cheaper. I think the Switch was the most expensive Nintendo console actually, right at $300.
Yeah, what was was that MSRP at the time? $300?
Maybe the Wii U was at $350 $250. It's hard to remember, but the last two Nintendo consoles have been the most expensive Nintendo consoles.
Yeah, that makes sense with time, but
Yeah, but maybe we're seeing a price increase with this too. But I mean, if there is a price increase, I do agree there should be an OLED screen.
yeah, I would really consider it if they do. I just love OLEDs and it helps it's backwards compatible. I wish I was more excited. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I just wish. And at the same time, they released what it looked like, and that's all we're going off of. They haven't announced any games or anything, or even pricing, so it's hard to say even. But.
Yeah, like it's hard to get excited for it when we haven't seen anything of it. We don't know anything of it. We don't know its power. We don't know its, cool things you can do with the Joy-Con or ways they've demonstrated it, or different thoughts you can have as to like this console can do this, or this game is coming to it. When you think about the Nintendo Switch and that first trailer, remember how it was like showing all the different ways you can play it, all the different games that were coming to it. They showed the new Mario, they showed Mario Kart and Splatoon, so that was all exciting. This, we still don't know anything about it. We know it's more powerful. Mario Kart 10 is coming to it, and the Joy-Con maybe will be nice, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's precarious a teeny bit. I think it's it's everything we wanted is the problem. It fixes the Joy-Cons. It's more powerful, but it's not super revolutionary, and therefore it's almost a tad boring. It's everything we wanted fixed on it, but it's not new in the slightest. It is, in every sense of the word, a Switch 2. It is not the craziest thing. It's pretty much what we expected. And while that's great for an experience, it doesn't have that same holy moly, you could bring it out of the toilet. We've already seen that, So I just we'll see how it turns out. I just wish it was more exciting, but I don't know how they could even do it. So, but I have no suggestions either.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's just going to be the little things. Once we get in our hands, it's like, oh, this is more comfortable than the old Switch to hold in my hand. The games coming to it are really worth it to buy it at launch. Maybe Nintendo Online will be updated and actually be something worth buying for once instead of slightly shrugging your shoulders at it.
Yeah.
That's what sells Nintendo consoles. It's their unique things, and the Switch is still pretty unique as in terms of it's a portable console. I mean, Xbox and PlayStation don't have that. Even with the PlayStation Portal, you still have to be connected to an internet thing, and it's like streaming the game or something like that. The most that you can come to is the Steam Deck. Right.
And that's cool in its own niche, and it plays the PC games. And yeah, but I'm honestly with you. It all what Nintendo has is games. That's all they kind of have at this point. And if they're good, they're good. And if they, like I said, even the Wii U games are good, but they have to come out reasonably quickly and actually be cool. Like Metroid Prime 4 or something, they can announce that again.
Yeah, they need to do exactly what their first year of the Switch did, which was, did you remember how every single month there was a brand new game? For the first year, it was Zelda was the first month, then it was Mario Kart, then ARMS, Splatoon 2, maybe they skipped a month, but it seemed like there was a brand new game to play every single month from Nintendo.
Yeah, and they even made sure they had cool stuff like little games, like snipper clips or something. It wasn't the craziest thing, but that was such a perfect game for it. It kind of highlighted what it could do. That was a cool experience.
Yeah. And I think with it being more powerful, that's going to be more appealing to third-party people, because the Switch already had more third-party support than almost any other Nintendo console. Even getting games that run on the PlayStation 5 or the PC, the Switch is still getting games. So to have something even more powerful, it's going to be interesting to see how third party reacts to it, you know, and I want my open world Mario game.
Hey, that's the next logical step. So I wouldn't even be too surprised if you got your wish there.